Okay, picture this. It's 2 in the morning, you're running on fumes, and you've been staring at the exact same page for an hour. Sound familiar? Yeah, we've all been there. But what if there was a way to just ditch the all-nighters and actually learn more in way less time? Well, in this explainer, we're going to show you exactly how to use AI to completely transform your study habits. We're talking about making learning active, efficient, and honestly, a whole lot smarter. I like to call this the 11 p.m. problem. You've got this mountain of notes, a deadline breathing down your neck, and a brain that has officially clocked out for the day. You're reading the words, but they're not sticking, right? It's that classic feeling of student overload, and it is a one-way ticket to burnout. And this quote from our source material just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures that feeling of total mental chaos. It's literally like having 40 tabs open in your brain, all of them yelling for attention at once. And what's the result? You end up scanning everything, but absorbing absolutely nothing. It is so frustrating, and it's a completely inefficient way to learn. But what if you could actually change all that? This is the core promise we're digging into today. We're going to show you how to shift from hours and hours of that passive reading, just glazing over a page, to just 15 minutes of super effective, active studying. And it's all going to be powered by AI. So how do we actually do it? Well, the entire key, the secret to all of this is shifting from passive to active learning. Understanding this one little difference is what's going to unlock all the efficiency we're about to talk about. See, this slide right here shows the biggest mistake that almost all of us make. We spend our time on the left side, rereading notes, highlighting every other sentence. It feels productive, but trust me, your brain isn't really doing much work. Real learning, the kind that sticks, happens on the right side. Why? Because your brain isn't some passive sponge. It's a muscle that needs a workout. Forcing it to summarize and test itself is the exercise that actually builds memory. And AI is the tool that lets us skip the boring stuff and jump straight to that workout. All right, let's get our hands dirty. I'm about to walk you through 3 specific, actionable AI hacks that you can literally use tonight to make that active learning shift a reality. Okay, first up, the beast. You know what I'm talking about. That dense 10-page lecture transcript or that massive textbook chapter you're supposed to read. How in the world do you tackle that without just giving up your entire evening? Here is hack number 1, the defluffer. Now, instead of a vague prompt like summarize this, you give the AI a really structured command. This master prompt is like giving a scalpel to a surgeon. It forces the AI to pull out exactly what you need. The main idea is a cheat sheet with all the key facts and a super quick conclusion. You're telling it precisely how to help you study smarter, not just harder. And boom, this is what you get. In seconds, you go from this intimidating 5,000-word wall of text to maybe 500 essential words. All the extra fluff is just gone, and what you're left with is the pure skeleton of the information. The part you actually need to learn for the exam. Okay, on to the next challenge. What about those topics that just don't click? Maybe your professor tried to explain quantum entanglement or macroeconomic equilibrium, and you're just staring at a wall. The notes themselves are confusing, and rereading them somehow only makes it worse. This is where hack number 2, the simplifier, comes in. You use the ELI5 method, which just stands for explain like I'm 5. But the real magic is in the second part of the prompt, using a sports analogy, or maybe a movie plot, or anything that you already understand really well. By forcing the AI to reframe the information in a context you're familiar with, you're helping your brain create brand new connections to the material. Now here's the key. You're not dumbing it down forever. You're just learning the baby version first. Once you actually grasp that simple analogy, going back to the complex academic version becomes so much easier to digest. It's like you're building a little bridge to understanding. All right, for our final hack, let's talk about prepping for the exam. We all know the best way to study is to practice, but let's be real. Who has the time to spend hours and hours manually creating their own flashcards and practice questions? No one. Welcome to the secret weapon for acing your exams. Hack number 3 is the test maker. You just paste in your notes, the same ones you just defluffed, and give the AI this quiz master prompt. Now, pay close attention to that last line. Do not provide the answers until I ask. This is so important because it forces you into active recall, which neuroscience tells us is one of the most powerful ways to strengthen your memory. It's the active retrieving the information that really locks it in. So why does this work so incredibly well? Because you're testing yourself before the real test, using a quiz that's custom built from your professor's own notes. It's perfectly tailored to you. And if you use tools like Notion AI, you can do this stuff seamlessly. Just highlight your notes, click a button, and generate a quiz right there. It keeps your entire study workflow all in one place. Now, before we wrap this all up, let's talk about taking this to the next level with a quick pro tip and then a really critical warning for using these tools responsibly. So here's the pro tip. If your professor gives you PDF slides, don't just read them, upload them directly into a tool like Gemini and ask this incredibly powerful question. What are the 3 most likely exam questions from these slides? You'd be surprised how good the AI is at spotting the key themes and repeated concepts that a professor is probably going to focus on. And this brings us to the single most important warning I can give you. Please remember, the AI is your tutor. It is not your replacement. It can make mistakes. It can hallucinate facts because its main job is just to predict the next word, not to know the absolute truth. Always double-check the summaries and cheat sheets it creates against your original textbook or lecture notes. You are still the one in charge of your learning. So, what does this all mean when you put it together? Well, it could mean the beginning of the end for those frantic all-night cramming sessions. This is all about building a new, smarter, and way less stressful way to study. So the new playbook is actually really simple. Step 1, defluff your notes to get the core concepts. Step 2, simplify anything that feels confusing. And Step 3, test yourself with AI-generated quizzes. Defluff, simplify, test. That's it. That's the new workflow. You know, ultimately, this isn't just about getting a better grade on some exam. The real goal here is to become more efficient so you can reclaim your time, reduce your stress, and actually have a life outside of the library. And that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. As these tools get better and better at automating the tedious parts of studying, the memorization, the summarizing, it opens up a really fascinating question. If AI is handling the what's, how much more time do you now have to explore the why? What new ideas and new connections will you make when you're no longer just memorizing a bunch of facts?